is present here and now. And in the awareness of God's presence, let us pray. Father, Mother God, we give thanks for this opportunity to be open to the awareness of your presence here, now. We feel you moving through our hearts, opening us, expanding us, bringing us peace. We feel your healing energy at work within us, illuminating the shadows, healing the hurt, preparing us for an expansion and a creativity, a bursting forth into this new day. We give thanks for your healing, loving energy that it is given to us with no limitation, here and now. And for those in our experience who seem to have a need for this awareness of your love, to seem to have a need for the healing energy that flows from you, we hold them in consciousness, and we see that happening now. We see them lifted. We see them transformed. We see their countenance shifting to one of joy and appreciation. And for this opportunity to be ministers of your word, we give thanks. And so it is that together we say, Amen. Yes, but. Now there is a perfect example of an affirmation and a denial. Yes, but. How many times have you approached a challenging task and your response has been, oh yeah, I could do that, but someone has approached you to say, could you get involved in this project? And you say, yes, but. Yes, but. Here are my conditions to get involved in this project. Well, I'd like you to recall when you first rode a bicycle. Now, I know for some of you that's a stretch. Perhaps you could relate to someone who you know recently who is just starting to ride a bicycle. No training wheels. And there is that excitement. Swing the leg over. Get comfortable in the seat. Get a feel for those handlebars. Someone with their hand on your back or your shoulder asking you, are you ready? And you say, yes, but. Yes, but. Don't push me too fast. Yes, but. How do I steer? Yes, but. You going to stay with me? Yes, but. Well, Patrick, would you start that video? That is a GoPro camera sitting on the helmet of this bike rider. Say what? little off the trail there. All right.
Where did that come from?
Uh-huh. Oh, that was on the video. That's right. So, can you imagine if that rider midway down the trail said, yes, but. Yes, I can do that, but. Oh, no, this chasm. Oh, my God. There is great power in our thoughts, both positive and negative. And when we encounter a challenge, it would behoove us to have a positive attitude, wouldn't it? Something like that. Can you imagine what it was like to have taken that trail the first time? Now, granted, these mountain bike riders, they work up to this, right? One step at a time, one jump at a time, one flip at a time, one spin at a time. And granted, they become very familiar with that course. I just saw a video this morning of someone riding the white line. Maybe you've seen it. A bike rider riding along the edge of one of the cliffs of Sedona. Now, it's not along the edge, it's on the face of one of the cliffs. Comes across this strata of this butte. You've seen the buttes of Sedona, Red Rock Buttes. It comes across and then drops down a little bit and rides back the other way. But this time on a very, very thin trail. But it is, several hundred feet down to the bottom if you happen to have imbalance. Well, we have the opportunity throughout our lives to approach our circumstances. We can approach our circumstances with the confidence to forge ahead, or we could approach the circumstances with a yes, but. Charles Fillmore speaks of this mental conditioning in this way. He says, although potentially perfect and incapable of producing a single condition of permanent consciousness out of harmony with divine principle, many persons are impregnated with a belief of limitation, and they need the dissolving power of denial to set them free. In unity, we have 5 principles. Those 5 principles are, there's one power and one presence. I label that the premise. The one Son of God, the Christ, abides in each of us. I pronounce that a proposition. The thoughts we hold in mind manifest in our experience. That is the process of mind action. And then the tools, the practice, the tools that we have of transformation, consciousness, are prayer, meditation, denials, and affirmations. And then we change our lives by applying these principles. Denials and affirmations. Denials are not the traditional, I'm going to avoid this, I'm going to ignore it, I'm going to sweep it under the rug, but rather it's about dissolving the power, as Fillmore spoke in that first passage. Dissolving the power that we have given to that negative circumstance. And dissolving the power that we have given to that negative circumstance is a very important aspect of our coming in to a realization of who we really are. As Fillmore said in that passage, while we have the potentiality of being perfect and not allowing any disharmony to come into our lives that's contrary to the divine vibration, we nonetheless have the opportunity to let our negative perspectives come forth and screw it up for us. Fillmore goes on to say that At the center of the mind of every person is the light, the white light of Spirit. Fan to a flame this white light at the center of your being by proclaiming your identity with the Christ light. The salvation of the world rests with those who join him and thereby bring peace and goodwill to all men. When the light of Christ comes to any man, it does not confine its rays to his consciousness alone, but those who sit in darkness and negation see and feel its power. You've seen this individual that walks into the room full of confidence, right? You know how that changes not just what's going on inside of you, but what's going on in the room. How many of you have never had that experience, to see someone of great confidence step into a crowd and see how that energy changes in the crowd? Who has not had that experience? Okay, no hands going up. I'm assuming that you've all had that experience, right? Okay. So how does that work? How is it that that person has so much confidence? Is it because that person was lucky to begin with and therefore based upon that luck gained this attitude that, oh, well, I'm a pretty lucky person? Last week we had someone walk into the bingo session in mid-session. She came in at about intermission. She bought a full packet. And as I was going around later in the session, I spoke to her. I said, you must feel like you're a very lucky person to come in, pay full price, and only be here for half the session. And she says, oh, yeah, I am a very lucky person. Well, okay. So she has this attitude that she's a very lucky person. How about you? Do you have the attitude that you're a very lucky person? You can answer within. You don't have to express it. If you have the attitude that you're a very lucky person, good on you. You probably have a fair amount of confidence about new things that come into your life. But if you don't feel that energy, how can you get that energy? How can you move into that state of consciousness? Well, Fillmore says that the way you do that is you fan the flames. You fan the flame of this white light at the center of your being by proclaiming your identity with the Christ. How do you do that? Through affirmations. An affirmation such as, I am the expression of the Christ light in this moment right now. I am the expression of Christ light in this moment right now. I am the expression of Christ light in this moment right now. Well, denials and affirmation come in pairs. It is like a landscaper who decides to plant a tree, and rather than just lay the ball of the tree on the ground and throw water on it, he has to excavate. He has to take out a place for that tree to grow. Well, it's the same thing with the affirmation. You don't just throw the affirmation on the barren ground of your experience and say, I expect this going to transform my life. What you have to do is you have to look at why that affirmation is necessary, what in your consciousness is calling you to make that affirmation, and recognize that if there is something calling you to make that affirmation, it means that there is something obstructing you from realizing that right now, right? And that is obstructing you might be, I never have any luck, right? Any aspect where you connect never with your own being, you are obstructed. So a denial would be, for instance, if what you're trying to do is you're trying to change your relationship and you feel like you just can't come across to this person that you are working with, or perhaps even an intimate relationship, or someone that you've just met, you're finding that you're not able to connect with that person for whatever reason. You may not even know the reason. The obstruction is that you don't feel that you can connect, right? The denial would be something like this. My experience in connecting with people of this character does not control how I'm going to connect with this person. Okay? You excavate, you take away the power that you have given to this negative condition that prepares you to plant the affirmation of, I don't yet know this person, but I can connect with him right now. I can feel his energy. I can see him at his soul level. That affirmation needs to be reinforced because you're breaking old habits. You're breaking the habit of saying, well, I can't connect with people. I've never been able to connect with people. People don't regard me as a good friend because I just can't step out there. Well, the denial would be my experience with connecting with people does not control how I connect with this person. And then the affirmation would be ready to be planted and repeated and repeated. I can see this person at their soul. I can see their heart. I can feel their heart. I can connect with them at a very deep level. Okay? So the denial takes away the power of the obstruction that you've given to yourself, and it is, by all means, it is that power that you've given to yourself, and it gives you a new way of being in consciousness. You know, as you saw that bike rider going down the trail, and in fact he got off the trail at one point, but as he started down the hill, there was one way for him to go, right? A few times you saw the trail drop off to the left. You saw the trail split, a high trail and a low trail. We have that opportunity in consciousness. We have this cascade of thought. Our first thought will beget the next thought. And that next thought will set the stage for the thought following. And the thought following will be the preamble to the thought that is continuing on down this mountain bike trail, right? The question is, what is that first thought? That first thought is the one that you have the most control over. Because the more you get down that trail, the less opportunity in mind, the less opportunity you have to veer off of that cascade. Because one thought proves another thought, which proves the third thought, which proves the fourth thought, and suddenly you're down into this cascade. Not only can I not get along with this guy, but he's obviously okay? That cascade of thought is completely and totally under your control. And it is most malleable, most transformable at the beginning. So when you have this thought of obstruction, when you have this thought of I can't or I never will or I never have been able to, when you have that thought, deny it. Take the power from it. That in the past does not control what I am doing right now, because I am at a state in consciousness where I realize that this thought will determine my next thought, which will cascade to the next and the next and the next and the next, and I choose to change it now. Deny the power of that obstruction. Affirm that new condition, that new circumstance, that new consciousness that you choose. And let that then cascade. Yes, you will need to reaffirm as you go. But Fillmore's suggestion, proclaim your identity with the Christ. Proclaiming your identity with the Christ is all about defining and accepting your divinity. If you truly accept your divinity, you recognize that you are in the right place, you have the tools, and you have the power right now to define what this next moment is going to be for you. That's what denials and affirmations are all about. So instead of yes, but, maybe it should be but, yes. 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 I can do this. I can connect with that person. I can be the expression of the Christ in this moment because I am the expression of the Christ in this moment. And when we are able to identify with that divinity within us, if you are so inclined, you could learn how to do that. If you were so inclined. I personally am not inclined to learn how to do that. But there is nothing that will stand in your way if you take away the obstruction that you have given yourself. In Cupid True Lent, page 67, life is worth living because you can surround yourself with your highest ideals. Henceforth, you are to keep in mind the consciousness of your spiritual origin. Now that you know your being is pure, transparent mind, you can intelligently deny any undesirable trait and center your consciousness on the perfect spirit within. You have that power. It is absolutely within the grasp of everyone sitting here and everyone sitting out there. Absolutely within the grasp to be able to control your consciousness. You surround yourself with your highest ideals. You surround yourself with the highest ideas. You surround yourself with the highest thoughts of who you are and what you can be. Jesus offered us this in Matthew. Let your word be yes, yes, or no, no. Anything more than this comes from the evil one, or comes from evil. Yes, yes, no, no. Everything else arises from the ego. Did you see that trick I played there? Everything else arises from your insistence upon being separate from God. Because when you declare your separation from God, there is limitation. It's self-imposed. Limitation that you have said, well, okay, maybe I'm not as good as I thought. Well, okay, maybe I can't connect with that person. Well, maybe I can't do the job that I've been called upon to do. No! Deny that and affirm that you are the expression of God in this moment. You're the expression of the Christ light in this moment. Right now. You define that first thought and let it cascade along that affirmative trail. You will amaze yourself. We'll have our meditation. We breathe. We breathe in. We breathe out. As we breathe in, we feel this life-giving energy move through us, drawn magically from this breath. We feel this wave of refreshment moving through our body. And as we breathe out, we let go of those things that no longer serve us. Let them move into the energy of the universe to be used and transformed by others. Breathing in. And breathing out. Here in this moment, I introduce a thought to you. The thought is one of a lemon. Yellow, smooth, dimpled skin. A knife in hand, we slice it open. The waft of that citrus, lemony smell greets us. Notice where your thoughts move from there. Your thoughts are surrounding the lemon. What does that smell like? What does it taste like? You might even imagine lemonade. Perhaps a lemonade stand that you had as a child. Or perhaps a lemonade stand that you and your children have during the summer. Perhaps your thoughts now move through the summertime, what lemonade is associated with. Perhaps sitting in the backyard. Whatever it is, you have a cascade of thought coming from this vivid image. It's only natural. Instead of a lemon, what about a thought about the Christ light that you are? What about introducing into your consciousness a cascade of thought about joy, about abundance, about relationships that are fulfilling, exciting, stimulating, creative? What about introducing into your consciousness all of the good things that you desire? Not just the material things, but the relationships, joy, feelings of satisfaction, wonder, amazement. Choose your thoughts. Identify any obstructions to their growth, to the flourishing in your consciousness. Deny the power of those obstructions and come back and affirm your thoughts of joy, fulfillment, creativity, abundance. Feel how that transforms you, how that lifts you, how that opens you to new possibilities, to new horizons, to new wonders, just from the choice of the thoughts you plant. Affirm your divinity. Deny your limitations. Deny the power of the limitations you have imposed upon yourself. And come back and affirm your divinity. As we come back into this time and space, let us come back sharing the words of Alleluia.